Does Tennessee finally knock off Florida in Gainesville? That's a big question mark. And to be honest, I don't think this is going to be a very easy one, but I'm really looking forward to this game.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one podcasting network in the land. We're going to be talking about the latest commitments, as we do every day around noon, and we're going to be talking about why things are trending the way they are. Been a little change to the recruiting industry. I'll talk about that later on in the show. But overall, this is just about picks today. This is a very unique weekend of college football because, A, you've got some of these before the game happens moments, meaning next week, like Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn. They don't have normal games this week. You know, Auburn's playing Mercer, etc. So you have some of those that I'm not going to pay attention to. But on the other side, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, you have some important games. Florida hosting Tennessee, Oklahoma hosting Missouri. You've got some games that matter to fans in terms of perception of their program, even if they're not in conference contention. USC at Oregon, like USC fans want to see them win a road game. They also want to see their team basically finish the deal, make a true run at the playoff. Perception matters. And Oregon obviously cannot afford to lose a home game for a second time. Remember, their other loss was to Indiana earlier this year, a quality loss for sure. But where would they be in the playoff standings? Would they even be in? It's debatable. BYU at Cincinnati. A lot of people probably overlooking it. If BYU wants a chance to go to the playoff, they need to win that game. Don't overlook Cincinnati. And then speaking of perception, Michigan playing at Maryland. That couldn't happen, could it? These are the kinds of moments you find out. Sharon Moore and his staff, they almost lost last week playing in Wrigley Field against Northwestern. Anything is possible. It's college football. It's why it's so fun. And again, thank you very much for checking us out here on the Portal Podcast. I enjoy doing this. So I'm just going to go over a whole bunch of games, give my general thoughts, talk a few point spreads. I am not a gambler. I do not advise you in any way, shape, or form to go by what I say. But this is the stuff that I enjoy in addition to recruiting. And again, we'll get to recruiting later on. And I'm just going to go through a gamut of games all the way from the start to the finish. The only one I'm going to talk about out of order is the one that I'm intrigued by, probably the most this weekend. That's the Gators hosting the Vols. And it's because of the weird nature of this rivalry. Florida dominates it. Tennessee probably should have won in the last 20 years at least 5 more times than they have, if not 6 or 7. They shoot themselves in the foot more than any program in the SEC during the last 20 years. It's just true, especially against Florida. Whether it's a bomb from Florida, whether it's a strip sack fumble, whether it's a third down play you didn't think they had a chance to get and they grind out the clock, whatever it is, Florida finds a way to beat Tennessee. But they have fired their coach. They are inconsistent would be a kind word. They are more than inconsistent. They are an abomination to self-righteousness on figuring out how to get things done from play to play in special teams, defense, or offense. Whatever needs to happen in a critical moment for Florida over the last month and a half has not happened. They'll give you a little hope, and then they just let go of the rope and they fall to the bottom of the canyon. They find a way to screw it up. But here come the Vols, a team that's favored, depending on where you look, by 4 points, give or take. But they never win in Gainesville. I think the last time, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, Florida's 2003, Florida's last loss to the Vols at home. That's over 20 years. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's when it was. If Vols fans aren't just apoplectic after this game if they lose, when would they be? You're not going to get a better chance to beat Florida than this Saturday. I can't imagine anybody not being excited about the game if you're a Tennessee fan, because if not only winning, depending on how the first half goes, there could be some quit factor in the Gators too. They've had some moments of that, like the Kentucky game. For part of that game, they quit, which is weird because they come back and played harder since. Like you just don't know with these teams week to week. But it's a 4.5-point spread, give or take, 4-point spread, depending on, again, where you look. 6:30 start, Central, 7:30 Eastern. ABC is going to carry the broadcast. The Swamp will be lit because it's always lit. They got really loyal fans. But for how long? If Tennessee comes out and punches them in the mouth, gets up 10-0 in the first quarter going into the second stanza, will DJ Lagway and that team wilt? They've done that multiple times this year, but they also had the game against Georgia that they barely lost at the end where they couldn't quite hold on. This is the most intriguing game to me. So I come back to that question. Will Tennessee fans just absolutely lose their minds if they lose to the Gators? I say yes, and I say that it would cause, not that I think it should, but I think it will cause some consternation with fans up the pole that have money. That matters. And Heupel would be in a tough spot moving forward. They have to win this game. They're not going to the playoff, but losing to a bad Florida team, making a coaching transition from Billy Napier is a bad look. They need to win this game. I am picking Tennessee to win, but not by much. I've got Tennessee winning 24-20. I think it'll be more of a defensive rock fight kind of game. Both teams hitting some big plays, but shooting themselves in the foot. Penalties, turnovers. I'm going to go over/under on penalties in this game at 15. I think this will be an ugly game in that regard. 15 might be a little light, actually. And turnovers, I'm going to go, there will be combined at least 4 turnovers in this game. This will be a game where I think both fan base for the Gators and the Vols will be mad, regardless of wins. I mean, somebody will be happier than the other, but I think this will be an ugly football game. I've got Florida going down at home for the first time since 2003, 24-20 Vols in this one. For what it's worth, the over-under is around 57.5, depending, again, where you look. Now I'm going to just kind of go down based on time, not conference or anything else. So there's not going to be any specific order. Friday night, there's another weird game also involving a team in Florida that could be doing a coaching search here pretty soon. The Florida State Seminoles travel to Raleigh, North Carolina to play NC State. NC State has had 2 opportunities to take on prime programs on the road this year, and they just didn't show up in either. Bounced at Notre Dame, bounced at Miami. They were bad in both, but they've had good moments too. They played really good against Georgia Tech. They've done some good things against other teams and scored some points, Virginia, etc. Who do you get with them? Well, here's one thing. They're at home. They're a different team at home, but they're underdog to Florida State by 6.5. I call BS. Why? Because Florida State has not won a road game. You ready for this? Since the 2023 season. They didn't win one last year. They have not won a road game in 2025. 6.5-point spread. NC State at home is a dog. I would definitely, again, I'm not a betting man. Or if I did, I would take State. I've got State winning 31-20. I don't think Florida State can play outside of Doak. They just stink at it. Not that I follow either of these programs. By the way, that game is Friday night. Again, that's 8 Eastern. That ought to be a pretty interesting ball game. Lord only knows how that'll go down. Probably be pretty wild down to the end. Another game that's going to be Friday night, Hawaii at UNLV. Calandria, the quarterback at UNLV, is a great kid. Knew him when he played in high school in the Tampa area. They're minus 2.5. Is Hawaii really that good? Just because Calandria, I'm going to say they're going to win by more than 2.5. Northwestern, Minnesota, 3.5-point spread, favoring the Wildcats. I actually agree with this. Northwestern was so close last week to beating Michigan. Northwestern's my pick there. I don't know why this caught my eye, but Delaware is not a team that anybody's going to respect yet. Wake Forest is minus 17.5 at home. I'm going to guess that Wake Forest is going to overlook Delaware. The points probably sound pretty good to me right there. Looking down the list, here's one that is like if I was a true diehard gambler, I would still bypass on this game. I'm not going to make a pick on this, but just going to explain why I say it. Louisville at SMU, SMU minus 2.5. Over under on this game's 51.5. I think that's probably pretty accurate. You don't know what you're getting with Louisville or SMU week to week. Both teams' quarterbacks are up and down. Both teams have defenses that can make some moves. Like SMU played pretty well defensively against Miami. Louisville played pretty well against Miami. They're similar. Those are the two teams that beat the Canes. Now they play each other. I have no idea. Right now, it's, again, minus 2.5 for SMU. I wouldn't touch that game with a 10-foot pole. But that's why college football is so wild. If I had to just guess, I would just take the home team. But that is a really, really tough one to figure out. Speaking of difficult, Miami minus 18.5 on the road at Virginia Tech. Do we really trust Virginia Tech? They just got smoked by Florida State's offense. FSU moved the ball pretty easily, and Tommy Castellanos is nowhere near healthy. That's pretty obvious. I would imagine that Miami is going to put a hurting on them. I think it's not a good idea to go against that many points on the road very often, but Miami needs style points. Miami, I think this is going to be like a 38-10 kind of game. They'll grind them into oblivion maybe in the last 7 minutes, but I think they're going to leave the starters in and try to score as much as possible to make some happy folks over at the College Football Playoff Committee. Missouri at Oklahoma. Minus 6.5 for the Sooners. Spread that's on FanDuel. Look, I mean, Missouri is Pribula going to play? Bo Pribula, however you say his name. I feel bad for the kid even trying to come back and play. He's got like some kind of fracture in his lower leg, but it's not major. I don't know what the circumstance is, but he has been medically cleared to play. What does that mean? Medically cleared, it almost sounds like, well, he can walk. Like what does medically cleared mean? So he's allegedly going to try to go through warm-ups and make a game time decision. That sounds like a terrible idea to me if he was playing a high school JV team, let alone Oklahoma. On the road, I would lay them and go with Oklahoma because the quarterback situation in Missouri is too much for me. But here's the other side of it. Oklahoma starts two, not one, but two true freshmen at offensive tackle. Both of the defensive ends for Missouri will play in the NFL. I don't like that matchup at all. And Oklahoma's offense is, at best, pedestrian. They're inconsistent because of those tackles. Quarterback has been banged up all year long. He's probably not going to be healthy till the offseason. It is what it is. That game is probably going to come down to the last 7 minutes. Somebody either does or does not commit a turnover, or there's going to be a fourth down play where, like Missouri has to get it. They do or they don't, a 4th and 11 or something. It'll be an ugly game. Over-under is 42.5, and I think that's being generous. If I had to pick on that, I would look at the over-under probably more. This could be 17-14. This will be an awful football game for those of you that enjoy offense. Speaking of over-unders that are crazy, wow. Samford at A&M, 54.5. Whoa. I don't know what you do with something like that. Speaking of crazy numbers, and Charlotte at Georgia, 43.5. Yeah. If I had to, I would probably lay them, to be honest with you. Looking down the list, yeah, I really would. Baylor at Arizona. Arizona is minus 6.5. Congrats to that program that just shot out. They've gotten a lot better. I think Baylor will score some points. I would probably take the points, but Arizona's gotten a heck of a lot better, and they can throw it around a little bit. That's an entertaining football team. Mercer at Auburn. I think this is interesting because I believe Deuce Knight is making his first career college start. He's a true freshman for Auburn, really talented kid out of Mississippi. I have no idea what that spread will end up being because they're going to play different quarterbacks, etc. Yeah, I wouldn't touch that point spread for anything, but nonetheless, those are some of the games in particular to kind of look at in general. Wyoming, Nevada, I think that one's kind of interesting just because that game's going to be in decent weather, but any team playing out at Wyoming, that's a little bit different kind of place. How will Nevada play? Wyoming's favored by 6.5. When we come back, I want to continue on with several of these picks, just having fun with it. College football has got a lot of big games. And if you're watching this live on YouTube, still got to talk about USC, Oregon, K-State, Utah. Got to talk about the opportunity for several teams to either cement their ticket to the playoff or not. That's next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. NBA is back. There's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of an NBA game or just want to ride the hot hand, NBA action on FanDuel, it has live bets, everything from who will score next to a fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. That part is probably important for somebody like me. As a Pacers fan, watching his team go to the NBA Finals last year is pretty cool. But watching them just absolutely face plant this season, they started, I believe, 2-13 and just terrible. You got to look at little things to have some fun with it because individual players winning a quarter, finding an opportunity for a player to hit a point total, rebounding total, player props. There's a lot of different things you can look at. Because right now, not a lot to cheer about with the Pacers. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We are also presented by Game Time. College football is coming down to the end of the season. It's exciting with all the tailgates, all the rivalries, and everything else. If you're trying to get to a game, there's nothing quite like it. Being in the stands is a blast. But let's be serious. The endless queues, hidden fees, and all the different difficulties with the prices changing from what you thought you were going to get when you get to the checkout. That's not much fun at all. I use Game Time because the prices don't change. What you see is what you receive on your debit card. I don't think you want to change, so why not use Game Time? The app that gives the advantage back to you, the actual fan. It's the easiest way to score last-minute ticket prices. No hidden fees. What you see is what you're going to pay for. I just bought 2 tickets on Game Time, in and out in 5 minutes, including putting in my credit card information. And I can see my seat view right there on my phone. It's very simple. It's not an app that you're going to take a whole bunch of time with and have to get screwed over at the end with the price again. That's very important. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and go and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you once again for making Locked On the Portal your first listen each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. If you have not already, become an everydayer. We do live noon shows every day during the week, barring me not being sick, which I have been all week. Almost over it. Thank the Lord for that. But it's time to get back into some picks, and then we'll get into a few recruits as well. So let's talk about USC at Oregon. This is one of the more, for lack of a better term, intriguing matchups, not because of they're both just good teams. There's a couple of sidebars here. Number one's the obvious. They're the most powerful programs on the West Coast, so they battle for recruits. They're rivals from the Pac-12. They both moved over to the Big Ten, all that. But Lincoln Riley's tired of hearing the narrative from guys like me, and I'm calling it out right here, that USC is not tough enough. And I'm saying it again, they're still not tough enough until otherwise proven. You have to do all of the following. Recruit like you're a physical program. They're starting to do that. I'll give you that. Go on the road and win like a physical program. They have not done that at all. Here's your chance again at Oregon. And you also have to prepare in the offseason like a physical program, which they never do. And I never believe they will. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. USC does not play physical enough in terms of how they prepare year-round because they worry too much about the passing game. That's this guy right here saying it. Prove me wrong. So I got Oregon winning this game. And again, it depends on where you look, point spreads and all that stuff. But that game's coming up, and it's a really, really important one. I don't know. It's 10.5, give or take, depending on where you look, FanDuel, etc. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to say it's going to be slightly below 10. I'm going to pick Oregon to win this game 28-20. So I guess I would take the points. And USC, here's the advantage. The weather's not going to be that bad. It's going to be an early kick. It's going to be 3:30 Eastern, so Pacific time. That's 12:30. That's perfect. It's going to be some sun out. That's an advantage for SC. Wet, windy, cold would advantage the Ducks, definitely. They're the more physical team, the deeper team in the trenches. And SC's got some guys out, one of their star safeties, etc. I think the Ducks, while they've got a bunch of injuries and guys coming back, we'll see who actually plays. Don't ever believe an injury report anyway, but especially before a big game, right before each team's trying to make a playoff run, no chance. That being the case, Ducks at home. Lincoln Riley is terrible in big road games. And Oregon's the more physical team. I think they'll win. I just think with the weather and everything else, and SC's a good football team, they'll keep it close, 28-20. I'm picking the Ducks in that one. Iowa, Michigan State. This one I'm bringing up for another reason. This could be the game that breaks open everything at State. Right now, it's looking like they don't want to pay the buyout and all that and get rid of Jonathan Smith, but he stinks. They haven't won a Big Ten game. Now they got to go to Iowa City. That's not good. I'm picking 41-3 Iowa, and I mean that literally. Their line is 16.5, but I'm thinking this game is just going to be an annihilation. If I'm even close to right, does Michigan State rethink what they're doing? Because the buyout's over $30 million. That's not friendly. I get it, but man, they are terrible. I'm calling it now. Iowa's just going to put a hammer on them. That's not going to go well. Michigan at Maryland. This is a game where Michigan's favored by 14.5. On the road, though. Freshman quarterback against freshman quarterback, that two of the best. Do I think that this game will be close? Yes. If I was a bettor, would I take Maryland 100%? Would I even be shocked if Maryland won? No. When you got freshman quarterbacks on the field, anything's possible. If Michigan won by 28, would I be surprised? No. You got a freshman at Maryland, too. Somebody's going to make an absolutely ridiculously bad play for either Maryland or Michigan. It's going to be one of the two freshman quarterbacks is going to cost their team the game. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I think it'll be a little bit closer. Maryland's at home. Michigan can't score that much. They got the Marsh kid. He's going to be good. But their running game isn't going to be enough just to do it by itself. Maryland will make some plays. They'll kind of hang around. I like Michigan in this game, but I just don't think it'll be by that many. I like Michigan 24-14. Another ugly game, but they would probably sign up for that right now if I was to guess. Ironically, Coach Rule in Nebraska, he's going back to his alma mater. Nebraska playing at Penn State. They're an underdog in this game because they don't have their quarterback. But, Penn State doesn't have their head coach or their quarterback. How much has he done at Nebraska? It's an interesting question for after the season, but both teams having no quarterback is kind of wild. I don't know how anybody would bet on this game, but for what it's worth, it's 7.5 points and 45.5 with the over-under. I wouldn't touch that game with a 10-foot pole. No way. Illinois at Wisconsin. I bring this one up because I think Illinois has done a pretty good job this year. But Wisconsin, Carter Smith, are they a decent team? 6:30 Central time kickoff in Madison, so 7:30 Eastern on Big Ten Network. Illinois favored by 8.5. They're going to want to hammer Wisconsin. Bielema is that kind of guy. He's going to want to remind people, hey, I'm the better coach. But Wisconsin's defense has played pretty decent lately. I'm curious. I would lay it, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game went down to the wire. I don't think Carter Smith is ready for Illinois' defense, but that's why you play the games, my friends. Washington at UCLA. I think UCLA is about done. We'll see if Washington can play better. Of course, they lost to Wisconsin on the road recently, but I think they're going to get back on track. UCLA is not very good. I think they'll win by more than the 10.5 points. We'll see how that goes. SEC, this is really fun. A couple other games I just want to mention in general here that I haven't talked about. Kentucky at Vanderbilt. Do not discount Kentucky. I know it's on the road. Nobody really talks about Kentucky. But Vandy's only an 8.5 point favorite. Why is that? Because Kentucky's actually playing good, like legitimately. And Vandy has to now be the hunted instead of the hunter. I would lay it, but I wouldn't, if I was betting, I wouldn't bet at all. But man, it's hard to get teams up for Kentucky. They're just not going to respect that helmet in football. They're just not. So I'm curious to see how that game goes. Arkansas at Texas is the other one that is wild. 8.5 points at home. At home. Texas is way better than Arkansas. That should be 25 points. The fact that it's 8.5 tells me two things. People don't trust what's going on at Texas in general, and there's probably more injuries than what are publicly known, which, again, just note, I say this all the time. If you trust injury reports and you're a bettor, you're a moron, a complete and utter moron. There is never an accurate injury report, ever, ever, ever. But with this, I mean, think about the roster difference between Arkansas and Texas, and it's 8.5. Do you really think that's just by coincidence? I'm not buying that. Texas is a team that could do anything in any game. I wouldn't want to be around them at all if I was a gambler, but the 8.5 makes me think they're more beat up than I even know. Tennessee at Florida, I talked about, but the game that I think is interesting to kind of finish this off is Western Kentucky at LSU, and here's why. LSU's got to play at Oklahoma next week. They still don't have a head coach. Is it Kiffin? Blah, blah, blah. Will they show up for this game? They're going to win, but they're only favored by 21.5. This is the Super Bowl for Western Kentucky. If this game's a 7-point game at half, would it surprise? Like the first half, especially if I was going to bet, I'd bet first half. But Western Kentucky has nothing to lose, and LSU's probably like, we don't want to be here. That game's on SEC Network, 7:45 Eastern. I have a feeling LSU fans aren't going to like the result of that game. They'll win, but it won't be anywhere near what it should be. They're favored by 21.5. We'll see. As an aside note, I have no idea what will happen here because South Carolina they're just still South Carolina. Coastal Carolina plays there. It's 24.5 point spread for the Gamecocks. After what garbage they showed in the second half against Texas A&M, will South Carolina show up? I mean, I have no idea. Would you touch that game? I wouldn't. There's no way. South Carolina is about the most unpredictable team in college athletics. It's just utterly ridiculous. But again, that's college football in a nutshell, and it's why it's so interesting. Lastly, here, I'm just a couple of games in the Big 12 to talk about just in general. I've talked about a few already, but Kansas State, Utah is a fun one. Utah is favored by 17.5. Really? Kansas State is not 17 points worse than Utah. They're not. I would take the points in that one. Kansas State can score. They have moments at least. Their defense is iffy. I get it, but 17.5, that's a lot. TCU at Houston. 4:00 Fox. Houston favored by 1.5. That's not a lot of respect. I would lay it 1.5. I mean, TCU can throw it, right? The quarterback's Hoover's legit. NFL player probably. But man, 1.5. No respect for the Cougs, man. The game that nobody cares about, I have no idea what will happen here. Oklahoma State at UCF, 4:00 ESPN Plus. UCF minus 12.5. How bad is Oklahoma State there? Awful. If UCF doesn't win that big, there are going to be some really mad fans. BYU at Cincinnati. This is another important game. This has got playoff implications. If BYU chokes this game away, they're done. Unless they can, I don't know if they lose this. I don't even know how the playoff or the Big 12 conference alignment is going to be for playing Tech in the championship game, but maybe they don't even make it. Don't be surprised if BYU loses that game. They're favored by 2.5 at Cincinnati. Sorsby and those guys at Cincinnati, they might do all right. And then finally, Arizona State, Colorado. Does Colorado just show up? They're underdogs by 7.5 at home. They've gotten hammered a couple of times here recently. If they lose this one big, I kind of wonder if Dion wants to come back. Just throwing that out there in general. So those are some of the games I just wanted to talk about and have some fun with. Now, just real quick, a few recruiting notes. There's not a lot of commitments, but a few. Excuse me. Tredarius Smith, Pearl River Community College cornerback. He's going to South Alabama. Let's see who else. Excuse me. After South Alabama, Dacario Ashley, Navarro College. He's a tight end. He's going to TCU. Washington got J.D. Hill out of Mission Viejo, one of the best programs just outside of L.A. Good defensive lineman. Nice pickup for the Dogs. We got Florida State with 2 pickups. Amari Thomas, really good running back from the Panhandle. Flipped him from South Carolina. And they also flipped Jordan Crutchfield from Vero Beach High School from Kentucky. Really good safety. He's a good kid. I know him. And Cincinnati, they also picked up Heise Jackson, McDonough 35 out of New Orleans. He's going to Cincinnati. That's kind of interesting. Big receiver, 6'3.5", 190 pounds. He's going to play for the Bearcats. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please like and subscribe and become an everydayer. We will see you again soon on the Portal Podcast.